All right, it's your boy Spank Dog, aka Puffinstein at YouTube. Like, comment, share, subscribe. You already know. Let's get right into it. All right, so today we have Scott. I believe his name is Scott Jennings. Well, anyway, he says some really ignorant stuff. You know, it's troubling when you hear a man in his position say something that ignorant, and the lady, I believe her name is McGowan. I forget her first name. She Oh man, that's some of the best stuff I've seen in a while. You know, when he says don't get your knickers in a twist. First of all, who says don't get your knickers in a twist? Second of all, she slays him when when he says it. So without further ado, let's let's get it started in here. All right. Yeah, this guy Scott Jennings is a bozo. So let me hit play and you can see my homegirl in action. Big shout out to Politics Girl. That's her channel. You could check it out. Go subscribe.
What's the punishment if they don't?
That's a great point. I mean, that's a problem.
There is none. So here's the deal. I think they should release it. I think they should follow the law. I also have no idea how long it takes to prepare this many documents for this kind of release. Counselor may have some thoughts on that, but they should follow the law. But let's not get our knickers in a twist here.
Let's not get our knickers in a twist over child rape. Why are you talking like that? It's insane.
Wow, she destroyed it. And I don't even, a part of me don't even want to laugh because the topic is nothing to laugh about. But for this man to say don't get your knickers in a twist, she said it, like she told him, how could you be so casual about a topic like that?
Who is that woman? And more importantly, is she mommy? Like, that was amazing. That was so satisfying because the endlessly smug Scott Jennings was basically annihilated over his nonchalant attitude regarding the.
I didn't know she was gonna say that, but she's pretty much saying what I just said.
Trump administration's failure to abide by the law and release the Epstein files.
Yeah, they act like such sticklers to the rules. And then when it's in their best interest to not abide by the rules, it's not that serious all of a sudden.
Here's the thing about Scott Jennings, who, by the way, was a never Trumper at one point, but now never misses an opportunity to kiss Trump's ass. He is a bad faith actor, is not honest about anything, and more importantly, the guy is not guided by any values or principles. So if the situation were reversed and we're talking about a Democratic president, does anyone believe for a second that Scott Jennings would stop talking about it?
I seen something recently where she said she apologized. She said that she didn't see this coming, and there was times where she said that she don't think Trump was as extreme as he is, and it turned out that she was wrong, and she gave a heartfelt apology. I mean, I knew what it was, but at the end of it all, she's right. Like, you see it coming, you feel like it's really like that, but then in your head, the United States has never had a president like this. Nobody could have predicted that it was gonna be this bad. So as far as her apologizing, I accept her apology. The one thing about the Young Turks, Rick Strom, Dr. Rashad Ritchie, Sank, and Sank told her that in one of the episodes, they got into a back and forth, and she was saying, "Come on, you really believe he's that bad? And he was like, yo, like, yeah, he's a dictator. That's exactly how it starts. And but she apologized. And shout out to Saint, because he knew what it was and he stood his ground from the beginning, you know. But like I said, I forgive her. You know what I'm saying? She apologized. A lot of people won't apologize. Big shout out to homegirl from the habituation room, I think it is. She said some stuff the other day that she kept it super official.
Please. So whenever I go on Abby Phillips's show, it's like the most frustrating thing when you're talking to someone who has been inflicted by severe partisan brain rot, because you can't have
Big shout out to Abby Phillips. Big shout out to Jasmine Crockett. Big shout out to AOC, Adam Makla, the Midas Touch. Like I said, all the people at TYT, Really American. You already know.
an honest conversation with them. Every once in a while, you'll find an independent voice who actually wants to have a legitimate conversation and is willing to ding their own side when they do something wrong. But in the case of child rape, Scott Jennings is willing to provide cover. Yeah. So look, Congress voted unanimously. Well, almost unanimously. I think there was one member of the House that voted against it, but almost unanimously to release the Epstein files, okay? But the Trump administration has only released 1% of the documents, 1%.
Why do you think they haven't released more than 1% of the documents? Let's we're gonna give you a quiz and we're gonna give you an IQ test. See if you pass. Right. So the only reason they would release only 1% of the documents is because the other 99% is super incriminating, in my opinion.
And as we know, what they have released has been heavily redacted. So yesterday actually marked the 1 month anniversary of Congress passing that bill, and still we are waiting on the DOJ to abide by that law, because it was a bill passed into law that the administration seems to be ignoring. So Attorney General Pam Bondi, who is a joke and embarrassing, claims that they're just making efforts to protect the victims' identities, right? And that's what's slowing them down.
Let me give a shout out to the people that. What up, Nunya? Let me highlight your comment real quick. So show some love. The homie been riding with me from the beginning. And yeah, man, let's get back to it. Much love, Nunya.
Down, you see? Yeah, you see, that's what's happening here. So she explained in a letter to Paul Engelmayer, who happens to be the federal New York judge overseeing the case, there are more than 2 million documents potentially responsive to the act that are in various phases of review. This work has required and will continue to require substantial department resources. We need to
I never thought I would see a day where there was an administration that would get away with criminality and lying at this level and nothing would be done about it. I never thought that they would create a unit like ICE where they're not trained properly, they're not the sharpest tools in the shed, they're violent, and they're giving them full reign.
Resources. No, you don't. That's not what this is about. Now, Bondi added that about 400 Justice Department lawyers and 100 federal document, 100 FBI document individuals tasked with document analysis are currently supporting these efforts to comply with the order to release the Epstein files. Honestly, that statement sounds like something like a child would say. Like, no, we've got 400 DOJ people and 100 FBI agents working on this.
If 1 month had passed and it was the left or the Democrats or a Democratic president administration that hadn't released the files yet, and if the shoe was on the other foot, pretty much, it would be worse. The insurrection happened over things. They said they stole the election, but with everything that's going on right now, if it was Democrats instead of Republicans, it would have been worse, way worse, in my opinion.
I don't believe that to be true. It's been a month. You guys have released 1% of the files and they're heavily redacted. More importantly, there's really been no explanation or rationale for the heavy redactions that took place. Let's not forget that. But there has been.
They released 1% and everything was blacked out. So they didn't even really release 1%.
A little backlash from Congress, not nearly enough, not even close. For instance, last month, Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie were considering holding Pam Bondi in contempt. That hasn't happened. And even more depressing is that several congressional Republicans are now providing cover for Trump, desperately hoping the story goes away. Please go away. This isn't good. We're defending pedophiles. Yeah, it looks bad, looks real bad. So despite what they want here, despite how badly they want the story to go away, it's not going away. So,
the thing is also, right, when it comes to pedophiles, people that are around me, they have no remorse for pedophiles. Like you see the YouTube channels where they go, How to Catch a Predator, Chris Hansen, MSNBC. This is what literally, like, this is what's being protected. Let's get to the next topic. We're gonna take it to Adam Mockler and Trump and Caroline Leavitt. What a team. I'm gonna let Adam Mockler take over so he could break down what's going on.
Often, but the president of the United States made unhinged, weird-ass comments on Air Force One last night, and this shouldn't be a left or right thing at this point. This supersedes U.S. politics or the political spectrum. I do not care if you consider.
Big shout out to Adam Mockler. Let me hit thumbs up real quick.
Consider yourself more right-leaning or left-leaning. The way the president of the United States speaks on a daily basis about Rob Reiner, for example, the slain director who Trump then tweeted about like 12 hours after Rob Reiner and his wife were killed and said he died of Trump derangement syndrome. The way he's.
Yeah, man, you're not supposed to disrespect people that pass like that. If you got honor, you got respect. You don't speak ill of the dead. I know there's some people out there that they were their enemies or they couldn't stand. And, I know they're not going to want to hear it, but the person's gone. What more could you do to them? You know what I'm saying?
He's talked about half of the Democratic governors in this country as if they need to be arrested ASAP without any sort of investigation or indictment, just because his instinct says they need to be arrested. I don't care where you fall in the political spectrum. The way he speaks should not be accepted from an American president. Case in point, let me show you the first clip before we move on to his weird comments about Caroline Leavitt. In this clip, he's talking about Greenland. And he says, we need to have Greenland one way or the other. The other day, he said, we're going to get it the easy way or the hard way. The threats have escalated to such a point that we now have reports the United Kingdom and Germany are discussing more NATO forces in Greenland to calm the US threats. And the weird paradoxical part is we already have US forces in Greenland. We have like joint military bases. We are allies with Greenland because they are a NATO partner. We can call them up whenever, ask them for whatever we want. We can increase our forces to deter China and Russia.
Oh,
and Trump's entire reasoning is that he
I
thinks
just looked
Russia
at the
and China are
comments real quick.
circling
Hold on
Greenland
a
and trying to
second.
grab it.
I won't comment because I know you're right. Okay. Let me take a look at this real quick. I don't hate anybody. I don't even use the word hate. I would curse before I would use the word hate. I don't have hate in my blood. You're sticking up for the worst president we've ever had. If you don't believe me, look at his approval rating. I can't believe you would even stick up for a person that gets down how he gets down. Caroline Leavitt gets up on the podium and lies pretty much every day. I'll say allegedly just to protect, my own self and my channel, but every day she gets up there and says stuff that's not true. I mean, like literally, it's gotten to the point where they went to SNL and made her the butt of their joke. You get what I'm saying? So come on. Look at the whole team. Look at Cash Patel, Pete Hegseth, Stephen Miller. These are all people that wouldn't, in my opinion, they wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire. Whatever happened to helping people, the have-nots, people that. Tell me what you think about Elon Musk and all these oligarchs having all this money? How do you feel about them cutting taxes for the rich and it having a negative effect on healthcare and things like that? I'll wait for your comments. You know what I'm saying? Let me get back to the show for a second.
But UK and Germany, they're not mobilizing forces to deter China and Russia. They're mobilizing forces to deter this man right here.
Taking your threat seriously is one area.
How are you the president of the United States, right? And a woman asks you a question, even if it's a question you don't like. They hold basketball players to a certain standard, and they're not politicians, they're athletes. And I've seen athletes bite their tongue better than the man who's supposed to be the leader of our country. How do you call a woman who is a working class lady who's made it to being a top reporter? How do you call her a piggy? Answer me that. Like, let me tell you something. I've been in the streets before. It's nothing for me to talk with ebonics and be vulgar, and you know what I'm saying? But I get up on this channel and I have respect for my own channel. I'm not the president of the United States, and I wouldn't even do what that man did. On my own channel as a man, I wouldn't call another woman piggy on my channel. I'm not the president. So you explain to me why he would even. That's one of the smallest things in the world. One of the smallest things he's done. That's the bottom of all the things he's done. There's things 100 times worse, 1,000 times worse. But let's just address the fact that he calls a professional reporter, a female, a piggy. When you can explain that to me, then we'll talk.
Taking your threat, the New York Post.
What about grab him by the crotch and all that other stuff? What about the fact that he pardoned himself on 55 felonies? There's more stuff, but I'm not gonna get into everything. You should, you do your homework. I'm not gonna do your homework for you.
New York Post treats me semi-fairly. So go ahead.
He's such a petulant child. Before the question is even asked, he goes, "Who are you with?" She goes, "New York Post." And he thinks, he's like, "Oh, the New York Post treats me semi-fairly." What a petulant child. This is supposed to be the...
That's the young gun right there, Adam Mockler. You heard him. He called him a petulant child, and I concur. He's right. He is a petulant child.
President of the United States.
Hopefully they haven't taken away our freedom of speech yet, because they're trying to dismantle the Constitution.
Threats very seriously as Greenland. Are you still thinking of military action there, or is anything they can...
Where? Military.
Greenland. Is there anything they can offer you for a deal?
If we don't take Greenland, Russia...
He's talking about taking Greenland, right? And then he says, if I don't take Greenland, China or Russia will. Okay, so you're gonna take over a country. You're gonna wage war on a country whether they want to be taken or not, because you said China or Russia will take them. That makes a lot of sense. You know, what other president have you ever say, I'm gonna take Greenland, I'm gonna take a country?
Or China will. And I'm not letting that happen. If we don't take Greenland, Russia or China will take Greenland. And I am not going to let that happen.
That's not even how it works. Even if you say it twice, that's not how it works. Russia and China cannot take Greenland because Greenland is a NATO ally. If you want to be smart,
This is the man you just stood up for, a man that's gonna take over a country forcefully. Okay.
and have a long-term vision, what you would do is you would uphold the NATO alliance. You would strengthen,
Yeah.
bolster it in Greenland.
He's supposed to defend Greenland from Russia and China. You're not supposed to join in the invasion.
And you would put U.S. troops there, not as an invading force, but as an ally who can help deter Russia and China. Then there's no way Russia and China are going to go to Greenland if we have U.S. forces as an ally, if we have our joint military base staffed and training at all times. If you want to increase security in Greenland, no one would argue against that, man. Nobody would argue against that. But the idea that we need to, quote unquote, take Greenland or annex Greenland or turn it into the United States territory is absurd and actually weakens the NATO alliance that would therefore deter Russia and China.
We're supposed to be heroes. For decades, for centuries, people have looked at America as the country that would try to keep things fair. Like, you know, they call us those Americans right now, and it's his fault, you know, and we have no say so in what goes on when it comes to shot calling about invading countries and stuff like that. But yet other countries call us those Americans, and you're okay with that. You know, American civilians getting bad names because of disgusting moves that certain people are making that we have no say so in. You know, we're supposed to, NATO is supposed to help them when people are trying to take over the countries. That's what NATO was for, so people wouldn't do things like what happened in World War I and World War II happened.
The way Donald Trump is speaking about Greenland only emboldens the Russia and Chinese aggression of other territories. He doesn't realize it.
You know, they can offer you, they're like,
Yeah, sure. I'd love to make a deal with them. It's easier. But one way or the other, we're going to have Greenland.
are you okay if that?
One way or the other, we are going to have Greenland. It gets even worse. Again, the UK is mobilizing to Greenland so they can protect it.
You gotta remember, that's what's going on with Kiev and the Ukraine. There's a lot of money in Kiev, and that's what the real fight is over. It's not about territories or, you know, there's minerals and metals in Kiev worth trillions of dollars, and he is, you know, in my opinion, buddying up with Putin because they want to get their hands on them trillions of dollars worth of metals.
And
the future is all about batteries and technology. So precious metals, precious minerals, they're worth more than ever right now.
Donald Trump says, we're talking about acquiring Greenland. It's acquiring Greenland. We don't want to lease it. We want to acquire it. By the way, if you appreciate the videos we post on the Adam Mockler channel, make sure you drop a like and subscribe below. It's the best way to battle this right-wing media ecosystem. We're building a bigger, better ecosystem based on the truth. So subscribe below and check out this clip.
That's a war that should have never happened with Ukraine.
The UK and Germany are discussing plans for a joint NATO mission to protect Arctic security in Greenland. Does that change your calculus at all?
No, look, we're talking about acquiring, not leasing, not having it short term. We're talking about acquiring. And if we don't do it, Russia or China will.
It's such a BS line. Greenland has been secure since World War II. Greenland has been very secure. There is no reality in which Russia and China are going to just acquire Greenland. To continue.
That's rationalizing at its best too, by the way. Like, I'm gonna take it because if I don't take it, they're gonna take it. Might as well take it. Like,
Donald Trump then is asked about Renee Good, the 37-year-old mother who was shot and killed in Minneapolis, Minnesota by an ICE agent. Scratch that. shot
Renee
and murdered by an ICE agent, of course. We've all seen the videos. The Trump admin has tried to lie to our face, as he does in this video here.
At a very minimum, that woman was very, very disrespectful to law enforcement. And you are
disrespect is a death sentence? Man, you know, he hit her in the face three times, I believe. Matter of fact, we don't do I believe. I mean, let's look it up. Where was Renee Good hit when she was shot by the ICE agent? Renee Good was shot 3 times in the head, left forearm, and breast by an ICE agent in Minneapolis in January 2026. So that's the fact right there. There is no guessing.
the same noises.
So you disrespectful to an ICE agent, you could get hit in the head, breast, and shoulder.
You saw the same crunch that I saw. You can't do that with law enforcement, whether it's police or ICE or Border Patrol or anybody else.
So he's claiming there was a crunch because the officer was ran over. We all saw the video. That did not happen. He also says that woman was, quote, very, very disrespectful. Renee Nicole Good was seen on video saying, "I'm not mad at you, bro."
Yeah, she did say that.
She goes, "I'm not mad at you, bro." And then the cop shoots her and says, "Effing bitch." He goes, "Fucking bitch," under his breath, which is just an insane thing coming from a supposedly trained ICE agent, clearly not trained. But even for a second, even if I were to concede what Trump says, let's just play there. He says the woman was very, very disrespectful to law enforcement. Do you think a trained law enforcement officer is using proportionate force by shooting someone in the head 3 times for being, quote unquote, disrespectful? I'm sorry, but police officers, ICE agents, anybody in a uniform is supposed to uphold a standard where you don't just get angry and aggressive because someone's disrespectful to you. But
I've seen on TV people commit horrible crimes. You know, sexual assault on a child, and see them not even get jail time. And you're telling me because this lady was disrespectful, she pulled off in the car. I'm not gonna act like she ain't pulled off abruptly. She did pull off abruptly, but still, if you want to be 100% real about it, she wasn't gonna kill that officer. She wasn't even gonna hit him. You know what I'm saying? She got out of there, and before she could get out of there, he made sure to take her life. That's it. Period.
Again, Renee Nicole Good wasn't even disrespectful. He then gets asked if this use of force was necessary. Why are we asking Donald Trump about this? Do you think Trump even knows what the use of force continuum is? Do you think Donald Trump knows the legal parameters of self-defense? I doubt it.
Our law enforcement.
Do you believe that?
I don't mess with this dude. This dude is no good. You know what I'm saying? Like when he was elected the first time, I was like, oh man, we're in for it. When I'm gonna highlight the comment right there, Nunya, I could tell you still here. Well, I was gonna say, when he was elected the second time, I was like, it's gonna be worse. And it is. Let me tell you something. He's already spent twice as much as he spent in the first presidency, and it's only been 1 year. By the time he gets out of the presidency, the national debt is going to be insane. You know, it's crazy, man. Like, people really don't understand. I know there's a lot of good people out there. You see them people in the streets out there protesting. Well, you know, that's proof that there's good people out there and they're fighting for what's right.
Force is necessary after watching all the footage of the days that passed. What's your assessment there?
It was highly disrespectful of law enforcement. The woman and her friend were highly disrespectful of law enforcement. You saw that. They were harassing, they were following for days and for hours.
He can't say nothing more than disrespectful. They took her life. So what you're pretty much saying is disrespect is equivalent to a death sentence.
For days?
Said
Renee Good
days,
was on
too.
the site for like 3.5 minutes.
And
Yeah.
I think, frankly, they're professional agitators.
See, like, I do a better job of making sure to come correct on my channel and not say some stuff that talk stuff that I don't know. He's over here saying days when he was just corrected by Adam Mockler that she was there for like 5 minutes. You know, and that's our so-called leader, you know, misinformation like nothing.
I'd like to find out, and we are going to find out who's paying for it.
Our president is a QAnon conspiracist.
Be in a position where they have to put up with this stuff. What that woman and what her friend and what their other friends were doing to law enforcement, not just ICE, law enforcement is outrageous.
Now I want to show you Donald Trump's absolutely insane comments about Caroline Leavitt on Air Force One. This clip is going incredibly viral of Donald Trump saying he needs something to grab onto, and it's not going to be Caroline, which is the last thing you want to hear as a young woman around Trump, that he needs to grab.
Even with the Epstein files out, he still can't control himself. He still got to say some weird, creepy stuff to a young lady. And even though Caroline Leavitt seems like she's, you know, in my opinion, it seems allegedly, you know, like she's a compulsive liar. But that don't mean it's okay for the old man to act like a weird, you know, creepy old man.
Onto something. This is a man who said on camera, grabs women by the pussy. He was asked 5 years later if he said that, and he said, yeah, I mean, stars historically can do that. 20 years ago, he bought beauty pageants. 15 years ago, the young girls in these beauty pageants said he was walking in on them while changing. The reason I'm laying all of this out is because this is
He owned beauty pageants where underage girls were in bikinis at all times and competing against each other for who looks the best.
Creepy man, creepy old man who abuses power dynamics. Even last month, a month ago, almost exactly on December 9th, he said Caroline Leavitt has a beautiful face and lips that don't stop, like a machine gun, ba, ba, ba.
You know, when she goes on television, Fox, like, I mean, they dominate when she gets up there with that beautiful face and those lips that don't stop, up, like a little machine gun.
He really, really likes to keep young blonde women around him. That's just an observation.
When will you meet with Machado this week?
Looking for something to grab here because it's going to get rough, and I don't seem to be in a. I think you did this to me. You put me in a position where there's absolutely nothing to grab. So I'm looking for something to grab, and it's not going to be Caroline.
Have any oil companies made commitments to you, sir? Have any oil companies made commitments to the United States?
Weird ass comments coming from the president of the United States. But you know what the truly offensive part is? You know, Trump can make jokes about Caroline Leavitt all he wants. I don't give a shit. But then he gets asked, if the Affordable Care Act subsidy extensions pass the Senate and millions of Americans are about to get health care again, would you veto it? Because on January 1st or December 31st at midnight, the Affordable Care Act subsidies expired, meaning millions, tens of millions of Americans saw their health care premiums shoot up 120%, some 200%, some 300%. Some people's healthcare premiums now cost more than their mortgage every single month. Not even joking. There are just a lot of horror stories.
A lot of people ain't gonna realize what's going on until something regarding the presidency happens to them and they get the short end of the stick. Then they're gonna be like, oh man, you know, why'd he do that? Listen, man, the fact of the matter is there's levels to this. And people, not all rich people, there are good rich people out there, but certain rich people just don't give a shit about the poor. They don't give a shit about the middle class. They don't even give a shit about the upper middle class. For all you people out there that make $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year, and you think you're down, you'll find out the hard way that you're not, you know?
Online. So the president of the United States gets asked, hey, like, you have an opportunity to solve this. Would you allow this to pass if it goes to the Senate? Would you sign the bill, or would you veto it and shoot down the extension of health care?
Mr. President, the House passed a 3-year extension of the ACA. It's in the Senate. If it passes the Senate,
when you have to take some of your $100,000 a year, your $200,000 a year, and have to pay for your grandma's health care or your mom's health care or other health care, then you'll understand.
I might, yeah.
Is this guy trying to get blown out in the midterms? This is an opportunity for you to at least
look. Big shout out to Adam Mockler. You know what I'm saying? I hit him with the thumbs up. Go check him out. We're gonna switch. I covered something about Martha Root not too long ago. She's a German female hacktivist. She's she fights for women's rights at the same time she's a hacker. So she also, a matter of fact, it's not, I don't even think it's women's rights. It's equality. She went after white supremacists. That's what it was. So right now I'm gonna share it with you guys. All right. Big shout out to Really American and US Democrat Socialists. There was something else I wanted to show you guys from this too. Let me hit the thumbs up. Let me full screen it. Let's get to action.
2 weeks ago, I made this video about a hacktivist who goes by the pseudonym Martha Root exposing and taking down a white supremacist dating site in real time at a hacking convention in Germany.
Big shout out to Martha Root for doing the right thing. You know, she found a bunch of racist white supremacists, and they were they had websites, and she hacked them and knocked them down.
Is me, sitting on the stage of the Chaos Communication Congress 2025 in Hamburg, one of the world's biggest hacking conventions. Something is about to happen that neither the journalists I spoke with nor the Congress organizers are aware of. The 3 white supremacy websites I just talked about, White Date, White Child, and White Deal, go offline.
But by the end of that video, and the further I dug into things, it turned out that that was just the tip of the iceberg, not only in terms of what Root has been doing to infiltrate and take down this global network of neo.
I just seen one of the comments, and I'm gonna highlight that one. It definitely deserves being highlighted. Lucky 2371 wrote, "I'm sorry, but ICE is overstepping. Now I'm sorry, but ICE is overstepping now. They can't just come in our homes without a warrant." So big shout out, because that's exactly the type of stuff that I want to see, you know, and I want to see it because it's what I agree with. I'm not mad at people that don't agree with me, but when I see a person write something that's common sense, in my opinion, logic, you know I'm gonna have to highlight that. You know what I'm saying? So big shout out to Lucky. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna get back to the program.
Nazis, but also what she uncovered in doing so, like white supremacist dating profiles of conservative British politicians. Yo, this goes so much further than I was able to cover in that first video, and many of you asked for a follow-up in the comments. Apologies, it has taken
I don't know this guy's name, but he's a good dude, man. I like his style.
2 weeks, but I promise it is worth the wait. Because Root didn't only infiltrate and expose these people, she downright humiliated them, even going so far as to create a public interface on okstupid.lol, allowing anyone to browse the profiles of the users with an interactive map that shows the geolocation of identified users extracted from image metadata shared on White Date. Lots to get to. All of Martha's links are down below. Be sure to like and subscribe here for more content like this, and let's pick up right where we left off.
So how did we get here?
She wears a pink Power Rangers outfit.
To answer that, we have to go back a few months. Dating apps are available for almost everyone. Jewish dating apps like JDate, Muslim platforms like Musmed, Christian dating apps like Dating Apps, Asian dating apps. They're usually built around shared culture, religion, or lived experience. At least that's the idea. A few months ago, I found a dating site that presented itself exactly like that. But it absolutely isn't.
All right, I'm seeing
on the surface
comments. You know, yeah, You're right. I would cross the border if my life was in danger. Definitely got to highlight that one. What if your life was in danger? I bet you'd cross the border. Yes, you're damn right I would. You know, that's the thing. They made it seem like everybody that was crossing the border was criminals, all sorts of foul crimes. That's not the case at all. You know, if America had too many immigrants, I would say maybe there was overpopulated, but what they did was despicable. You know what I'm saying? And there was a lot of people that were on their way to getting um um citizenship the correct way. So for the people that were working hard and trying to get citizenship the correct way, they shouldn't have just ran up on them and displaced them like that. Then you got to keep in mind that they were ripping families apart. You understand? Like, you can't just, first of all, if the guy's going about citizenship the correct way before Trump got here, and they said it was all good for him to, you know, not worry that he's doing it the right way, and then all of a sudden for them to rip them apart and then leave the kids not even knowing where their parents are, people be in different detainment centers, that wasn't okay at all. And then you had people getting shipped off to other countries that didn't have their medicines, that when they returned, they had left seeking political asylum. People were trying to hurt them. One man died because he couldn't locate diabetes medication. People died in the detainment places, you know, that they were supposed to be deported. They weren't supposed to die in a detainment center, you know.
White Date calls itself an ethnocultural dating platform. Tradition, family, shared heritage. But underneath,
and no matter what, yo, none of your business. You've been supporting me since the beginning. So like you know how me and you do. Even if it came to a point like where me and you didn't agree, you still my homie. You know what I'm saying? People gotta learn, you know, that it's okay not to agree. People are supposed to be able to conversate and communicate and push back and try to enlighten people. Maybe you don't think something one moment and then somebody tells you the right thing, and then you're like, damn, I never thought about it like that. You know what I'm saying? To keep the line of communication open is the most important thing, not to get angry and want to fight and get violent. You know, I know a thing or two about violence. You know what I'm saying? I come from a very, very bad neighborhood, and fighting was a must. You know what I'm saying? And at this day and age, that fighting and violence is the last thing I try to handle something with. You know, God gave us the gift of gab so we could try to talk things out. You know, I've seen a lot of violence in my life.
it's something else entirely. It's a white supremacy website. In fact, it's a whole network of them. White Date isn't about people preferring to date within their own.
First of all, this lady right here, Martha Root, yo, big applause to Martha Root. You know what I'm saying? What she's doing is gangster. You know what I'm saying? She's risking her life. You know, she's a journalist and she's a hacker who shuts down people who are racist and white supremacists, and she could get hurt doing what she's doing, but she still risks her neck for what's right, you know, and I gotta salute her.
Own background. Nobody cares about that. The problem starts where preference turns into ideology. Rather than being based on religion or culture, this platform is centered around race. Rather than promoting compatibility, it encourages worldview. Rather than fostering connection, it normalizes hate speech and conspiracy narratives. What appears to be a niche alternative to Tinder is actually a global far-right ecosystem with thousands of users across the US and Europe.
Yeah, but it's not just Tinder for Nazis. Before we get into the brilliant way she used AI chatbots to hack these neo-Nazis, listen to a couple of the other sites that she took down as well.
So with Deal, it's a a freelancer platform for white freelancers, meaning white providers of services, online or offline. White ChildNet is a comprehensive digital platform designed for users, for two parties. In this process, one specific party involved can choose to donate vital biological contributions like sperm and eggs, while on the opposite side of the arrangement, the recipients, who are white, of course.
If it was innocent, I wouldn't mind. You get what I'm saying? Like my father, he wanted me and my brother to date Puerto Rican women because I'm a Puerto Rican man and he wanted a Puerto Rican grandchild. Now, there was nothing nefarious behind what he wanted. See, these websites, though, there's other things to them other than just wanting a white girlfriend and a white boyfriend to be together. It gets way deeper than that. That's why she does what she does. Now, let me tell you something. There's nothing racist, and some people, there's not the end all be all, but I am a Puerto Rican man who has a son that's Italian and German. So, it's hard for you to say that I care about nationalities, and especially when I had a father that wanted me to be with a Hispanic woman. Not even Hispanic, literally Puerto Rican. I don't think he would have been happy if she was even Ecuadorian or Panamanian or Venezuelan or Costa Rican. You get what I'm saying? He wanted me with a Puerto Rican woman. But I didn't care. I don't care about nationalities. I don't care about skin color. And my son, I'm proud to say that my son is Puerto Rican, Italian, and German.
Of course, are those individuals and couples who are actively seeking such medical donations because they are currently struggling with various forms of infertility. Of course, German culture is outstanding, but it was...
I got family in Puerto Rico as we speak. I got like 15, 20 family members in Agua Dia, Puerto Rico right now.
Also created by white people. And when a non-white person comes in and says, yes, I'm black, but I speak low German and that's why I belong here, that's not true. And even with a German passport or an English passport, a non-white person will never be European, never be white. And we need to be clear about that.
That is straight up eugenics from the aptly named whitechild.net.
Ultimately, it's about loyalty, and from the Jews and also the half Jews, even the quarter and even eighth Jews, we can no longer expect 100% loyalty to our white interests. And some will probably never understand that what is happening here is a race war. And yes, of course, that sounds crazy.
This is Liv Heide, or rather, this is what she calls herself. She presents herself as a thinker and a cultural guardian, the woman behind White Date, White Child, and White Deal. Later in this video, I reveal who she really is.
You, just you, building your app on base 44. Describe it.
For now, what matters is the ideology she publicly promotes. Liv's favorite concept is something she calls Europits. According to her, Europits are the smartest, most naturally superior survivors of the Ice Age, descendants of Cro-Magnon men. She deliberately avoids using the word Caucasian, she says, because that would include Jews and Turkish people. It's old-school racism from the 1930s, repackaged as modern identity politics. It sounds scientific. It isn't.
But thankfully, the idea of them creating a master race becomes laughable when you see the ease with which Martha Root infiltrated their abysmal cybersecurity.
The registration warning on White Date. It says, adding personal contact details and social media profiles is against our terms. It would harm our business and expose your data to spammers, prostitutes, data collectors and infiltrators, anti-white journalists and feds, who, despite our extensive filtering and security measures, still managed to get in. So they warned users about so-called anti-white infiltrators. It felt less like a warning and more like a challenge. So I sent one in. Actually, not just one, several. I sent several AI bots into the site. They were carefully prompted, closely supervised, and intentionally boring. They didn't...
She's nasty with it. She's so good with computers. She sent like let's say 6-7 AI personalities into the dating site and collected information from 7 different users or however many users that the chatbots interacted with.
Argue, provoke, or radicalize anyone. They just existed. And then the first bot got banned. Why? Because I poked around in every text field I could find.
Yeah, man.
And that poking broke the bot's profile completely.
Let me see something real quick, man. Yeah, man. That's what's up, man. What's her name? Is it Lucy or Lucky? Well, but anyway, man, you know, I appreciate the comments, Lucky. You know, thanks for having some common sense. It's not like it's in abundance sometimes, you know. Nah, man, y'all do your thing, man. I'm gonna highlight that comment real quick. It says thank you for letting us free speak, Puff. Yeah, man, people, you know, and like I said, I gotta be running the program too, so it's cool when you guys just do your thing while I do the show, you know. Yeah, and like everybody got their own outlook, so if it's not gonna match, you know, all the time.
Pictures disappeared, messages vanished, settings reset. Then I got an email explaining my account was banned. So I simply wrote the support. They said there were suspicions that I'm a bot and that the user needs to be white verified. I had to upload a video of myself holding an email address in front of the camera, which I did within 15 minutes using a deepfake software. Once verified, I asked if they could just delete my account because my profile was broken, which they directly did. A preview member.
She still fooled them. They were onto her. They were like, "Yo, we think you're a bot." She got them to think she was a real person.
Membership for 3 months because of all the trouble included. Yes, they literally upgraded a broken AI profile to full paid status while insisting it was a verified white user.
Yeah, they literally gave her neo-Nazi Tinder Plus for deep faking her way through their cybersecurity.
It is exactly the kind of absurd bureaucratic farce that makes you question whether these people are dangerous or just spectacularly incompetent.
Yeah, but don't worry. She then immediately answers that comment, or rather, a white date user by the name of Leo does himself.
And then Leo appeared. A user started messaging the bot asking if it wanted to meet someone in real life. He even suggested bringing Liv Hyde along. Apparently he wanted to brag that he knew her. I thought, bingo. We arranged a meeting at Hermannshöhe, a semi-famous restaurant on the northern German coast. Naturally, the bot did not show up, but I did. And I watched as they arrived, and I followed their wannabe Aryan or Europid, whatever, road trip through Travemünde, a Viking village and other spiritual and neo-Nazi sightseeing spots. The whole thing was a living postcard of terrible taste.
Yo, those huts look crazy, right? Goes to show you how lucky you are to live in America.
Motion. After they stepped out of the car in a quiet suburb of Kiel, I looked up public records, and the trademark White Deal was tied to a company officially registered in France, but the owner's current address, that very house in Kiel. Suddenly it became clear. I never had to leave my basement. All the critical pieces, the alias, the company, the trademark, even the physical location were sitting there in plain sight. Meanwhile, on the site, users whispered about anti-white spies and secret investigators, paranoia online, transparency in the real world. Because of a trademark. Lol. I continued to gather more data on the site, and the irony became impossible to ignore. Let's just say the ideological ambition did not match the infrastructure. The site felt like someone installed WordPress in 2012 and then decided that security was a left-wing concept.
Yo, if Martha wasn't already a successful hacktivist, she could very well be an incredible political satirist. Please do yourselves and Martha a favor by going and subscribing to her YouTube channel that is on.
Yeah, I'm subscribed already to Martha Root. All right, so we're gonna move down to the next thing. You know, this is what I wanted to show you too about Scott Jennings too, man. Like, this dude is you know, he's bugged out. I'm gonna show you how people just lie and they don't care. They lie and it's nothing to them. You know what I'm saying? Like, this dude is supposed to be a politician. He's supposed to be someone who's authentic, who's official. He's literally an official. So, but watch this, people.
People ICE has arrested and removed from Minneapolis in the last 5 weeks. 2,500 rapists, murderers, pedophiles.
How many?
20. He just said they removed 2,500 rapists, murderers, and pedophiles. Right now, the thing is that he made it sound like every single one of the 2,500 people removed could be categorized in the 3 categories he just named. They start to call him out on his shit right now, and he backpedals and says different categories, but he still doubles down, but he stutters and stumbles just like a liar would. First of all, everybody knows that the 2,500, I wouldn't be surprised if not even 10%, 15, 20% were the criminals that he just named, those categories. But let's finish. Watch when they get on his case and how he says it again, but he switches it up.
Gang members.
How many of the 2,500 were rapists, murderers,
over
pedophiles?
2,500?
That's arrest. I don't
No,
think
that's
that all
arrest.
So you have the worst of the worst.
Scott, that's
being
not the
removed.
number of
He said, I think that's arrest. And then now Abby saying it.
all of those types of people, but just
That's
continue.
inaccurate.
That's a pretty
And-
big coincidence that those 2,500 people have conviction records for those particular offenses.
It's inaccurate. And I honestly, Scott, when I say it's a lie or I'm saying
Yep,
someone is a
it's a
liar,
lie.
it's not meant to be an insult. It is when you say things
Inaccurate.
like that, it's just
Whatever
not
you
true.
want to call it.
I'm telling you that according to the Department of Homeland Security and their official statements, in the last 5 weeks, they have removed, quote, over 2,500 murderers, fraudsters, predators, and gang members.
Now he switched it to fraudsters, gang members. You know, he switched it up. You didn't say the same thing you said before. All right, we're done with that one. That was a quick one. All right, I didn't see this one yet. I'm going to watch it with you guys for the first time. So I have no clue. I know what it's about, but I have never seen this.
Random white male who decides to go get a weapon. Here it is. Once again, another black delivery driver gets racially harassed by a random white male who decides to go get a weapon. Here it is.
Gotta leave people alone, man. If the person ain't bothering you, can't tell the man's working for FedEx. You're gonna draw a gun on him while he's working? It's disgusting.
Go ahead. What's up?
You a boy.
I'm a boy.
Put this on your Instagram.
Go ahead. What else? What else? What you want to do?
62-year-old.
What you want to do? What you want to do?
Your ass.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You better listen to her. This ain't. Hey, it's 2025. You better realize what day is.
Yeah.
Get your mess.
If you go down the hill,
Hey, no, I got time today. He want to call me boy. You better tell him. Hey,
you go
Boy.
down the hill and turn left.
Boy.
Turn left on Stevens and end up in the
Alright.
place.
Yeah, it's a dick.
hey, you need Jesus, boy.
Yep, we need Jesus.
No, I got time today. I got time. Man, no disrespect. He approached me crazy. I'm doing my job. He calling me boy. Hey, you feel me? But I like your robe though. But you good. I'm about to go ahead. But go ahead. Look. Then the guy goes and grabs a gun. Put it up full mass. He doesn't do anything with it. This is random racism, but it's also very intentional. It's random. Yes, it seems random. You're just working, you're doing your job. All of a sudden, there's this clown who hops out of nowhere like a troll and calls you.
How do you care about his skin color so much? I don't understand it. To the point where you're going to draw a gun on him. You don't care about his life, his heart, his mind. You care about his skin color. It's pathetic.
You're a boy while you're working. So you pull out your phone and you record him. He proceeds to tell you how he will aggressively assault you. And all you're doing is protecting yourself by recording.
You show restraint too, because there's some dudes out there that would have they would have assaulted that man over him calling him boy and stuff like that. He showed restraint, and he has to too if he wants to keep his job. Because at FedEx, they're not gonna want to hear nothing about, yeah, but he said this. They're gonna fire you.
According to Atlanta Black Star, a white male stood in the middle of an Atlanta street in broad daylight and brandished a gun. Brandished a gun at a black FedEx driver after repeatedly calling him boy on January 22nd, according to the video.
Big shout out to Dr. Rashad Ritchie. Let me make sure I hit like. Matter of fact, see, I ain't hit like real quick. I just hit thumbs up. Let's get back to it. Let me check the comments real quick too. My dude Nunya. It's my homie right there. You the man, Nunya.
The driver allegedly double parked his truck to make a delivery, which in Atlanta, they all do that. We assume they have some kind of relationship with the police because they do it everywhere. So this isn't uncommon, is my point. The driver allegedly double parked his truck to make a delivery when the agitated older male wearing glasses and Crocs. Go back to the picture, Jordan. Those are Crocs. So it's difficult to hold your footing properly in the fight with that attire.
Yeah, you don't want to be thumping in Crocs. You want to be laced up, of course.
So he exited the vehicle, approached him using the derogatory term and attempting to goad him into a fist fight. Quote, I said, you're a boy, end quote. He told the FedEx employee, flashing him the middle finger, seemingly showing off with the camera. The sexagenarian made a meager.
I was tired too, man. I wasn't going to do the live. I was like, you know what? Muster up the energy, knock it out. You'll feel good after you do it. And I do. I'm glad I did it.
Moved toward the delivery driver with repeating the demeaning term, but he suddenly retreated, perhaps remembering something he had stashed in the trunk, which was a gun. While Georgia has some of the most lenient laws in the U.S. as it relates to gun policy, pointing or aiming a gun at another person, regardless of if it's loaded or not, is a misdemeanor punishable by up to 12 years in jail. And it's a felony if there's intent to assault. The video cuts out shortly after this.
You could point a pistol at somebody in Georgia and Atlanta, and it's a misdemeanor. Now, of course, it's still like you still got to realize it says punishable up to 12 years. But if you don't have any prior offenses, there's a chance that you're going to get off with like community service, a fine, something to that effect. Don't quote me on that. Don't go to Georgia and do it. You know what I mean? But it's a misdemeanor. That's wild.
Point, however, it's unclear if the man then drove off or if the police were notified. The X account that uploaded the video said, quote, I exposed racist and pedos, tagged FedEx along with countless commenters. But so far, the company, which is the largest express transportation company in the world, has not publicly responded. FedEx did ask the account to DM them, though. Send them more information. All right, Jamie, thoughts here?
First thing that came to mind was...
All right, we're going to get on to something else. All right, this is the postal workers marching against federal immigration agents, which you guys know as ICE. And the daily protests continue in Minneapolis. This is me showing you guys that they're mad. They're out there marching. It's not a game. They don't want ICE in their neighborhood.
Get ICE out! Protect our routes! Get ICE out! Protect our routes!
It's not a joke.
ICE
They're out there deep. There's a lot of good people out there, man. Just like there's a lot of idiots out there, there's a lot of good people too, man. Don't ever sleep on there being a good person there. Just like you got to be careful that there could be an idiot around. There's good people everywhere also. You see, that's everybody there. Those are all different colors and nationalities. You know, that's proof that you know a white person could love a black person could love a Spanish person could love a Chinese person could love an Indian person. All that, it don't matter. What you see there is a bunch of good people, and it don't matter their skin color or their nationality.
Ice out now! Ice out now! Ice out
Ice out now.
Ice out now! Ice out
Right.
now! Ice out now!
I've seen them on my route. Some of my customers have reported that they're trying to break into apartment buildings, and a couple of my customers have told me that they've been attacked and tackled at a local shopping center. And
They'll try and get in your apartment. They don't care about no warrants, nothing like that. All right, so we're gonna go to this next one. Let's see what she has to say. I didn't watch any of this yet.
Welcome back to another episode of Pragmatic Optimists. I am attorney Rachel Cohen. I'm joined by Rhode Island State Senator Tara Mack. And we are going to be talking about something that may not, and certainly is not on its surface, particularly optimistic, which is the death of Renee Nicole Good, and also the deaths of dozens of people in.
All right, rest in peace, Renee Nicole Good. The reason I did this one was because this is gonna talk about people that have died since ICE has been implemented behind the actions of ICE. And a lot of people think Renee Nicole Good is the only casualty of ICE, and that's not the case. And you're gonna see that right now. So I'm gonna let her talk so she could explain to you guys about other people who have lost their lives since this ICE thing started.
ICE custody since Donald Trump retook office. So the death of Renee Nicole Good, there's been polling that shows that over 80% of Americans have seen some version of the video of her murder at the hands of ICE agent Jonathan Ross, who called her a fucking bitch before he pulled the trigger. That is horrifying. It has galvanized many Americans, understandably, justifiably. But on January 14th, the 6th or 7th, the tracking is terrifyingly vague at this point, person died in ICE custody so far this year, 2 weeks into the year, a 36-year-old named Victor Manuel Diaz, who was the second person who died in the particular Texas detention center that he was being held at in El Paso since the beginning of the year. The first man, Geraldo Lunez Campos, was choked to death. DHS originally published a press release saying that he was experiencing medical distress. I am not joking, because someone was choking him. There was an autopsy that showed that the cause of death was asphyxiation.
There's other casualties besides Renee Nicole Good. You know, I'm not saying that her important is it's the most iconic. You know, it's what started the biggest fight against what's going on, but there are other casualties.
Due to pressure on his neck and chest. There is an eyewitness who is braver than I can possibly imagine, who was willing to come forward and say that he saw multiple ICE agents choking this man while he was waiting in line for medication and then resisting being taken to solitary confinement because he still did not have his medication. And ICE DHS press release called this him experiencing medical distress. And so it's a pattern that we're seeing in the way that ICE speaks about deaths, not just in custody, but also at the hands of their agents. It's not just Renee Nicole Good, it's also Silverio Villegas Gonzalez, who was a Chicago father who was very similar in age to Renee Nicole Good, but was Mexican and was in the country for 18 years, but did not have documentation and received very little comparative media attention.
18 years he's in the country. You know, even if there's people out there that feel like he shouldn't have been here or they still should have got him out, you should have showed him some empathy, man. He don't know nothing else but America for the last 18 years.
But had an almost identical press release come out after an ICE agent, still unidentified, murdered him, saying that he had been driving his car. ICE agents' surveillance footage that came out basically the same day showed that that was not the case and he was in fact driving away. So with all of this, there's a couple of threads that I know that you and I want to pull on, Tiara. The first is that I know that we want to take our viewers and center their attention on the kind of widespread violence that ICE is perpetrating, not just as a kind of one-off horrifying murder of Renee Nicole Good, but throughout the country, almost entirely to people of color, largely in detention facilities that everyday Americans and even Congress people have no insight into, and that is built on a history of violence against particularly Black people in this country through mass incarceration and disappearing people into the criminal legal system. So that's thread one. And then thread two that we want to talk about is the way that the United States is consistently lying about what protesters or people they are trying to abduct are doing at the moment that they are killed, and comparisons that we might see in that moment, deeming these people domestic terrorists, to international incidents that are happening all over the place, but specifically in Iran, where there has been an internet blackout and where protesters are being murdered in the streets by the Iranian government, which is an Islamo-fascist government. Tiara, pull on some threads with me.
All right, guys, man. So just so you know, man, listen, if you have power out there because you're a law enforcement agency, your law enforcement rather, you know, it's your duty to tell your partner to chill. You know, it's your duty to have a code of honor, you know, and make sure people on your watch don't get hurt. You took an oath, you know, it doesn't mean anything to you. All right, let's get to the next video. You know, the next video is about if the people who shot Renee Good will be prosecuted. All right, let's check this out.
Was the shooting of Renee Good illegal? Last Wednesday, during a protest against ICE, an ICE agent named Jonathan Ross shot a protester named Renee Good. What we've seen actually is the Trump administration very quickly stand by Ross.
I know that officer was acting in self-defense.
And to say that Renee Good was in the wrong.
This was an act of domestic terrorism.
That is bullshit.
Oh, God.
This was
an
agent recklessly using power.
The way we determine,
you know, Kristi Noem, I mean, she'll just agree with anything that is far right, extreme, conservative, you know, and some of the most despicable things happen and she still co-signs it. I don't understand it.
Whether an individual action like that was a crime in America is, of course, we have a trial and a jury determines it. But there are a lot of obstacles before Jonathan Ross could even be put on trial.
You know, they're protecting him. Jonathan Ross is his name. I believe he just said it. I wasn't super familiar with it. But, you know, it's to the point where that man unalived Renee Nicole Good, and it's not even where they think he's going to beat the case. They can't even get their hands on him.
Don't expect federal prosecutors to bring charges. So if the prosecutors find a reason to bring charges, we would expect those to be state prosecutors. But federal authorities are refusing to share evidence with the state authorities at the moment. That's going to make it all the more difficult for state authorities to decide whether to even try and charge Ross. If state prosecutors decided that they did have probable cause, they would charge him. Ross's lawyers would probably seek to move the case into federal court.
all these people screaming, oh, you know, that's good they're protecting them, or that's good they're doing this. If it happened to you or somebody you cared about, you would not be saying that. Don't wait for something to happen to you to finally see the light, man. Use your common sense.
In what's called a removal proceeding. And then they would almost certainly invoke a part of the Constitution called the Supremacy Clause, which bars the prosecution of a federal agent by a state authority if they were doing their job in a way that was quote unquote necessary and proper. And we've seen this kind of thing happen before. In 1992, Idaho prosecutors wanted to charge an FBI sniper for a shooting at Ruby Ridge. And the sniper's lawyers invoked the Supremacy Clause. They said, you can't prosecute our guy. Eventually, an appeals court said, no, a prosecution can actually go forward. But at that point, the prosecution was actually dropped, in part because so much time had passed litigating this issue. But let's say prosecutors get past that Supremacy Clause obstacle. Then you would actually get to potentially a trial phase. And even a trial phase in this situation would be really hard for prosecutors. Law enforcement officials have tremendous bandwidth to act in the line of duty, particularly when they feel that they or someone else is in danger. But there are a couple different things that could be favorable for prosecutors. And one is a Supreme Court ruling that came out just last year. And it found that when juries are considering these types of events, they have to consider the full context of what happened to really understand whether it was reasonable to use force. And that means that in this particular instance, if Ross were to be prosecuted, a jury could consider what Good said to him.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you.
Another thing that might help.
She said, that's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. Not F you, you're a piece of crap, this, none of that. And she still ended up with her life taken.
Help the prosecution is that a jury would have to find that all 3 shots were justified. So it's not enough for Ross to have felt that his life was in danger the first time he fired his gun. He fired 3 times. All 3 of those shots, a jury would have to find were justified. It is
even if they said the first shot was justified, the other 2 shots have to be justified too. In my opinion, none of them were justified because the way that everything was positioned, even when she took off initially, he wasn't in the front of the car. He wasn't even on the edge of the car, like to be nipped. You know, he was to the side of the car. His anger is what made him squeeze that gun.
Possible that state authorities will bring charges against Jonathan Ross, but if they decide to do that, it will be a really difficult road for them, and there's no telling what will actually happen. Was the shooting of...
So, I think I have one more for you guys. Yes, this is the final one, people. You know, right now, you listen, your freedom of speech is at risk. You know what I'm saying? They tried to bring up charges on Don Lemon just because he spoke in a certain way. They try to like say that, you know, his what he said could have affected something to a certain degree that would have warranted charges. So I'm gonna play it for you right now. It's Dr. Rashad Ritchie. Big shout to Dr. Rashad Ritchie. You know, one of the best channels on YouTube. Hit him with that thumbs up. Let's go full screen. This is the last one. This is the finale, y'all.
The Department of Justice seeking charges against Don Lemon. A judge says, nope, not this time. The judge has rejected the charges being sought against Don Lemon. And there's a background to it. Here it is.
So Don Lemon be holding it down. You know, I didn't know he had a channel and that the channel was this good. So the other day I see that he blew up on Stephen A. Smith, right? So you know, I was interested in that video, and then this happened, and I had subscribed by this time, but you know, Don Lemon, he be keeping it official. You know what I'm saying? I definitely mess with his channel. You know, so in my opinion, he got a good channel.
News organizations, stop selling out your journalists. Let them report on the news. Stop trying to move the journalism in the direction of Republicans or MAGA or this administration. And if you were trying to do it to the left, I would say the same thing, but that's not what's happening. Nobody's trying to move anything to the left.
Trying to push the right.
But you're trying to move things to the right. Not only is it unseemly, it's un-American. And you don't deserve to be journalists or in the business of journalism if you do that. So look, I stand proud and I stand tall.
It would be different if it wasn't, there's criminality going on. You understand? That's why he's taking this stance, you know, allegedly, you know, but he's not trying to tell you to go left or right. He's telling you to not be okay with things that are criminal, you know, things that are violating people's constitutional rights.
This is not a victory lap for me because it's not over. They're going to try again, and they're going to try again. And guess what?
What he said about Stephen A. Smith the other day, I was feeling, because Stephen A. Smith be playing himself. That's a fact, you know, period.
Here I am. Keep trying. That's not going to stop me from being a journalist. You're not going to diminish my voice. Go ahead, make me into the new Jimmy Kimmel if you want. Just do it.
Yo, listen, man, they got Stephen Colbert. You get me? Like, Jimmy Kimmel was, you know, his show was so powerful, his presence was so powerful that when they tried to dead Jimmy Kimmel, it didn't go down. You know, but I guess Stephen Colbert, his notoriety, his fame wasn't up like Kimmel, and it was just below where he needed to be, where they would say, nah, we're not doing that. And they got Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert is a great comedian, and you could tell that he, you know, he talks all positive. He tries to fight for what's right when he does his comedy, when he does his monologues and all that. But Jimmy Kimmel, they couldn't do it to Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel was too much that dude for them to eliminate him, you know, and God bless him. I'm glad that he didn't. Jimmy Kimmel's one of the funniest talk show hosts in TV history. The only person, you know how it's like, for me, it's like Eddie Murphy was the greatest comedian ever, and then Chappelle came along, and it was like, you know, see, like with LeBron and Jordan, I still think Jordan is the best basketball player ever, even though somebody came to rival him. Kobe Bryant too. I ain't gonna dare disrespect Kobe. Kobe won 5 and almost won 6. He went to the final 7 times. So he had a chance to even be better than Jordan if he would have won those other 2 rings. He would have had 7 rings. So, but anyway, yeah, man, like Eddie Murphy was the GOAT in my opinion, but I feel like Chappelle is the Jordan of comedy. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, but Chappelle's the man, you know.
Because I'm not going anywhere.
Very well said. Understand the proxy war that's happening. So one, it was never about the protesters. It was about getting Don Lemon. It was about silencing the voice of Don Lemon. But then it wasn't even about Don Lemon. It was about what Don Lemon represents, the proxy of this, the free press, the free press, the free press. Conservative outlets have utilized Trump to their advantage, and Trump has utilized the conservative press as the de facto ministry of communication, basically, from his White House. But Don Lemon stood strong, very proud of the brother. And once again, this is the continuation of the assault against truth-telling, regardless of the terminology, journalist or not. Truth-telling is under assault, not just plain journalism. Truth-telling is under assault. Put it up full man.
Freedom of speech, man. They coming for your freedom of speech, man. The YouTube We're lucky to be able to get up here. Comedians. Right now, comedians are at their finest because comedians are deep thinkers. And, comedians will get up on stage and they'll make light of an issue and they won't have to get all riled up and everything. They'll, use their brain. And, you know, that's why you shouldn't take people's voices. We need people, free thinkers like comedians, like the press. And now, even with YouTube, people that didn't have a lane found a lane with YouTube. YouTube is giving a lot of people a platform, giving people a chance. So for all you people out there that support YouTube, support comedy, support free thinking, free press, you got to stand up.
Yes. In an update, veteran journalist Don Lemon called out the Trump administration after the U.S. Department of Justice attempted to criminally charge him for reporting live at a protest against ICE inside a Minneapolis church. A federal magistrate judge refused to approve.
They try to lock him up over words. Better wake up.
The DOJ's criminal complaint against Lemon for his on-the-ground coverage of the peaceful protest on January 18th. This was inside City's church, where protesters accused its pastor, David Easterwood, of being an ICE field director in the community.
The judge held it down.
Lemon, an Emmy Award-winning journalist, entered the church to interview church members about the demonstration. He was not part of the demonstration, as the administration alleged.
An Emmy Award-winning
He had been in Minneapolis covering ongoing protests in the city amid the Trump administration's escalating immigration and law enforcement activities targeting Black and brown immigrants following the January 7th fatal ICE shooting of a 37-year-old mother named Renee Good. Some important factors to remember in this story. One, the Trump administration made churches front and center for something like this to happen.
Rest in peace.
When they decided to roll back the protections that a place of worship and faith would typically have, they rolled that back. They eliminated that separation. They decided to withdraw the veil, making their ICE agents immune to constitutional violations of individuals.
It wasn't good when regular police had too much power. Now, the regular police, I'll give them this. They're trained well, and they still mess up and they still do blunders and they still had beef with the community. These ICE agents are worse and they're giving them more power. You got to wake up. I've seen judges, I've seen lawyers, I've seen cops get pulled over by the wrong police officer, and they go through what they never thought they would have went through. Well, if you thought that was bad, well, it's about to get worse. You understand what I'm saying? They're offering them tons of money too. So now you're like, you don't got to train hard. You don't got to be bright. And we'll give you more money than we're giving the regular cops. And that's why, if you have real morals, you'll say no. But even I know dudes that are decent dudes. There's dudes out there I got love for. I know they would take the job, and then they would be put in a spot because they would be a person that their friends wouldn't like, if they would, do the stuff that we're seeing ICE do on TV.
As they go and attempt to round up.
Money's making some of this happen. They're offering some of these people big paychecks in a time where the economy's messed up. Do your research on the economy regarding what's going on right now in the present since Trump took office. You understand? Don't take my word for it. I ain't even say what it was. So you can't even say that I said whether he's doing bad or not. I said neither. I said go look up what the economy is, and when Trump came in, how everything went up until the present. That's all I said.
Well, undocumented folk, which once again is a proxy war against everybody. 2, Don Lemon was not the only person reporting inside of that church, but he is the target of the DOJ. In a statement hitting back at Trump's DOJ and their failed attempt to charge him, Lemon's attorney, Ab Lowell, said, quote, the magistrate's reported actions confirmed the nature of Don's First Amendment protected work this weekend in Minnesota as a reporter. It was no different than what he has done for more than 30 years. Reporting and covering newsworthy events on the ground and engaging in constitutionally protected activity as a journalist. Now, the Trump administration, they would like you to believe that they're able to tell you who a journalist is and is not. And so they will say, well, these are left-wing lunatics and they're not real journalists, fake news, fake journalists. Okay?
Listen, man, there's good guys and bad guys in every story, man. Take a good look, use your common sense, and you tell me who's the good guys and who's the bad guys.
They do that in order to eliminate the truth from sticking to you. And so they come up with false narratives about those who deliver the message without attacking the message itself. So they want to pick who is in the media, who is a journalist. Well, that's a common model for dictatorships, where you have to be an approved, government approved, and government sanctioned individual in order to be a member of the press. This is Trump creating a de facto version of that. There's more. According to the New York Times, the DOJ prosecutors sought to charge Lemon for possible violations of the FACE Act, a law that makes it a crime to physically obstruct or use threats of force to intimidate or interfere with a person seeking reproductive health services or seeking to participate in a service at a house of faith. During the White House press,
you think Robert De Niro is saying the stuff he says because, you know, he's a actor who doesn't know anything about what's going on? Or do you think Robert De Niro is a highly intelligent person and he sees things for what it's worth, and he don't like the way things are right now? There's others too. He's just one example of you know, deep thinkers that are not okay with what's happening right now. You know, big shout to Robert De Niro.
Conference on Tuesday, Donald Trump accused Lemon of accosting the church's lead pastor, Jonathan Parnell, and defended the actions of ICE agents. Quote, they have to be abused by guys like Don Lemon, who's loser, lightweight. I saw him, the way he walked in that church, it was terrible. The way he walked in. He walked in that church. The way he walked in that church, it was terrible. The audacity of a black man to walk into a white man's church.
Yo, big salute to Dr. Rashad Ritchie. Like I said, man, he's one of the more impressive dudes out there right now, hosting talk shows. You know, he keeps it authentic. You know, I seen him handle this dude, man. I forget the name of that guy. He got a channel. He's a real lame. He be trying to call people out when they don't make any sense. I don't want to even give him any light. Even if I knew his name, I probably wouldn't say it. But Dr. Rashad Ritchie shut him down, you know, and it was something you would have to see.
There's more. The Times reports, despite the judge's denial, the DOJ will still seek to charge Lemon through other avenues. However, what avenue is unclear. Lemon's attorney said, should the Department of Justice continue with this, quote, stunning and troubling effort to, quote, silence and punish him for exercising his First Amendment right as a member of the free press, Lemon will call out their latest attack on the rule of law and fight any charges vigorously and thoroughly in court. While unsuccessful in prosecuting Lemon, the Trump administration began arresting activists who participated. We talked about this yesterday in the church protest, put it at full mass. So we have organizer and civil rights attorney.
They protested, man. If they didn't lay hands on people, it's peaceful protest, man.
Nakima Levy Armstrong and St. Paul Public School Board member Chantel Allen, both Black women. Put up the mayor, Minneapolis. The mayor did rebuke the administration for the arrest, calling it, quote, gross abuse of power, end quote, and demand.
Listen, keep in mind that governors, mayors, police chiefs of all different states, I'm not saying every state in America, but quite a few states, their governors, their mayors, their police chiefs, they don't want ICE in their city. They don't want ICE in their state. So like you could say, let's say you saying oh, Puff don't know what he's talking about. All right, so but tell me about the governor of a couple of states, mayors, police chiefs, they're all wrong. They don't know what they're talking about.
Demanded their release. Another quote, the federal government is picking and choosing who to investigate, going after protesters, and not the person who shot and killed one of our neighbors, said the mayor. Keep the mayor up.
It's Lip from Shameless. I gotta stop.
Once again, to the good people of the city of Minneapolis, your mayor and your police department, they are authorized. They have constitutional and statutory and Supreme Court case law protection.
Kick them out.
To arrest lawbreakers.
Lock them up.
Regardless of who those lawbreakers may be or what uniform they have on that day.
Lock them up.
I want to remind you of that every single time because you're not powerless. Your city is not.
Lock them up. If they playing themselves, lock them up. If they're breaking the law, I've seen judges be drunk behind the wheel. I've seen cops be drunk behind the wheel, and I've seen cops take them to prison. Well, these judges, these ICE agents just pretend they're drunk behind the wheel because it's the same thing. Breaking a law, they're breaking a law. Matter of fact, well, they're both bad. But yeah, assaulting somebody, driving while intoxicated, lock them up. If you're going to lock a judge up because she drank and drove, then lock the ICE agent up for assaulting somebody who didn't deserve it.
Not powerless. You have protections, but the individuals who continue to give you word salad are not engaging in the protections that you deserve. You're paying for the protections. You have a right to the protection. The words of the politicians add up to you should have protection. All right, Jamie, thoughts about it?
In this. All right, guys, man, big shout out. You want to see the rest? Head over to Dr. Rashad Ritchie's channel. Let me close this real quick. Yeah. So listen, man, I'm about to get out of here. This ICE thing is the biggest news in the country right now. We're talking about agents that aren't qualified. And even if they were qualified, people get into static with regular police. We still haven't fixed everything that was going on with regular police and the community. You're over here bringing some bootleg version of the police. Because I'm going to be honest with you, ICE makes the regular police look good. You know, I'm going to keep it short and sweet, man. You already heard me, man. You know, the ICE agents, they're no good. You know, and keep it simple like that. Listen, man, it's your boy Spank Dog. Much love, real love. You already know how we do. You know, have a good morning. I'm out of here. One.